You can catch us up. I think, Helen, you're going to record this. Is that right? There we go. So just so you're aware, this is recording for people who can't join us live in the session today. So good morning. The main part of today's meeting, in a few minutes' time, I'm going to turn to Kim Grockier, who's going to share with us, I should say, plans for the university's bicentenary, but more of that in a moment. Just a couple of things from me in the meantime, however. So first of all, I thought particularly colleagues in residencies will be interested to know. I've literally just come from a committee meeting where the funding to start the demolition phase of the residences redevelopment has passed the first of its three committee hurdles. So that was Finance Capital Planning Subcommittee. Just a moment ago, I know, big round of applause, Cooper, for that. So that it's got two more stages, committee stages to go. Things tend to stand more chance of success the further up the committee chain they go. It tends to be that first committee where things, if they're going to get hit that problem. This sailed through just now, so that will see us, as you've heard me say before, particularly colleagues in residence have a bit more detail on this. That will put us on a path to starting to demolish Owens Park Hall sometime in the autumn, and over this summer we will be moving the reception area, the main kind of entrance to that Fallowfield residential site, a little deeper down into the site, into the what's currently the Richmond Park amenity block. But that feels like a really, really important milestone. The day we finally see a JCB coming onto site, it will start to feel a bit more real. So that's literally happened in the last 20 minutes. So I wanted to share that little bit of excitement. Apart from that excitement, it's, this is clearly quite one of those pressure points of the year, both for all of us and our other colleagues in DSE and around the university, but also for our students. We're right in the middle of that exam period at the moment, and the stresses and strains associated with that, of course, are always there. There's pressure on study spaces, pressure on different kind of formats of exams. The team within DSE who schedule all of those exams and make all of that happen have done an incredible job, and so far that is all going very, very smoothly indeed. I've said this before, and I'll post the link in the chat a bit later on. It is that time of year we just need to keep that extra little eye out. Any minor concerns at all, any sort of niggles or sense that a particular student you come across might be struggling a little bit, need a little bit of extra help. Something doesn't feel quite right, do just call it out, or contact somebody else about that. And I'll put a link in the chat in a minute with a bit of further guidance. Better to do that than not. And is that pressure point one of those additional pressure points for all of us as well? Just that additionality of exams and end of year, marking assessment boycott playing on top of that, colleagues in residences and so on, starting to think about moving out. Got a lot of work going on over the summer in there as well, summer conferencing, all sorts of things. It kind of doesn't stop at this time of year, so let's look after ourselves a bit as well, make sure we're checking in with each other in that respect. And if sport is your thing, it's not for everyone, but if sport is your thing, there's an added incentive to take part over the next month. I'll put details of where to sign up for this either in the chat in a minute. I'll certainly put it in my weekly message on Friday. The sport team are doing a special staff offer over the next month. It runs until 30th of June. It's essentially free staff active membership for the next month, sport classes, access to the gyms and so on. So there's never been a better time, and that builds on the success the Manchester Run of 10Ks over the weekend just gone. So another really, really good opportunity. And final quick plug, and this is genuinely, this is not about volunteering to do anything other than going and celebrating our student success in graduation. So graduations this year will run from the 11th, Tuesday the 11th, to Friday the 21st of July, and the planning is well underway for those, as you would imagine. One of the innovations that the graduation team I've introduced over the last couple of years is really trying to extend a broader invite to everyone in the university to come and join some of those graduation celebrations. I think there is a bit of a sense in the past that they were the preserve of only the academic staff who taught the students, and that's really not the case at all. So again, we will make available, I'll put this in my message on Friday as well, is a very simple link if you're interested in just going along, being part of the academic procession, processing through the hall, sitting on the stage and celebrating the success of some of our students, seeing it from the other side, if you like, then just sign up. Go to a ceremony that suits you, and go and enjoy that as well. And honestly, it's not about volunteering to do anything. It's just about going and celebrating and seeing what a graduation looks like. We'll have some time at the end for sort of further questions, and other people might have things they want to flag up, but I'm going to move on with introducing this month's guest speaker, who is a face very familiar to many of us in DSE, is Kim Grockia. Now, Kim was most recently head of student communications and has been seconded to a different part of the communications team just recently to head up the university's bicentenary planning, and particularly the communications around that. As Kim will come to in a second, don't go thinking that next year, 2024, is just about the bicentenary. There are actually a number of anniversaries next year. And of course, we've also got the changeover of Vice Chancellor that will happen next year too, when Nancy moves on next summer. But without further ado, I'll hand over to Kim. She's got a few slides to go through, give you a sense of what's planned, and then there'll be a chance for an opportunity for questions, discussions afterwards. So, Kim, thank you.
Thanks very much, Simon, and hello, everyone. So I will just share my screen here. Just give me a moment. While I'm doing that, I'm going to make some apologies in advance. First for my croakiness and the odd cough, and secondly for some noisy work that's going on outside my house. So you may hear a chainsaw or something every so often, but it's stopped at the moment, so hopefully we'll be good. Right. I hope is everybody seeing the slides there on the screen? Yeah, super.
Yeah, happy days.
Thank you. So yeah, as Simon said, I probably don't need to introduce myself. I think I've worked with most of you for quite a long time in various capacities. But yes, so until kind of into the start of 2025, I'm now kind of heading up all our celebratory program around our 200th birthday next year, which is a really exciting opportunity. And there we go. Thought my slides were stuck. So as well as obviously our 200th birthday next year, it's also going to be, planning it will be the launch of the university's first ever fundraising and volunteering campaign. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about that because that's more of a DDAR thing. But basically, they're kind of really big campaigns that lots of universities do, not just to kind of raise funds, of course, from kind of alumni and philanthropy and donor point of view, but also to showcase what we do around volunteering and get more people involved in that, both from inside the university and outside. So that's a big thing that's hopefully going to be launching towards the end of next year. As we kind of tail down from bicentenary, we will aim to ramp up into that campaign. But as I say, obviously 200, very significant time for any institution or organisation, 200 years of doing business, which for us, obviously, key business is education, but it's also about kind of the impact that we've had in that time, all the innovations that we've brought about, the achievements, not just of the institution, but of course it's all of our people that have made those achievements, our people that have had those achievements and made all those great things possible, both on a local community, but also a national and a global, international level as well. So it's really quite huge, as we all know, in terms of the span and breadth of what we do across the university. And it's really about how we bring all of that to life and celebrate it, and particularly celebrating, I say, that all the individuals and the people that have made that happen. So it kind of feels like the stars are a bit aligned to us in terms of partying next year, because yes, it's our 200th birthday, and that goes way back to the formation of the Manchester Mechanics Institute, which some of you may know is a building out on Princess Street. So back in the day, 199 years ago at present time, there was a group of people got together in there and they set up what became known as the UMIST institution, and the Trade Union Congress also formed back there as well. But of course, with the merger period that we had, we can trace our history obviously back to that formation with UMIST and that Mechanics Institute. So that's where our 200 years kind of started from, in effect. Well, keep saying 200. I say it's 199 at the moment, but 200 next year. Our Manchester Medical School was also the first medical school, and that's also 200 years old next year. The John Rylands Library will be celebrating its 125th birthday next year. And it's also 20 years next year since the discovery and isolation of graphene, and also, as I mentioned, since the formation of our new combined University of Manchester. So just on that list alone, there's lots of things there to go at that we can reflect and celebrate. And as Simon mentioned as well, of course, we've got the other big thing happening next year when Nancy steps down, and we'll have a new incoming VC next year as well. So lots of exciting times next year. So in terms of the bicentenary and our 200th birthday as a whole, obviously kind of looking at it as quite a big project or program of activity. What are we looking to do? As I say, obviously celebrate that 200 years of impact, and particularly within that, the achievements of the people that have made that possible, our staff, our students, our alumni, our partners. Really building that sense of community. And every time I say this, for me, it's about continuing to build, because I think we have a really strong community, whether that's our campus community, our Greater Manchester region community, but it's about continuing to build that onwards and outwards as well through these activities. Also continuing to instill that pride and advocacy in who we are and what we do, I say, both on that local and global stage, and linked to that, continuing to raise our profile. I mean, we're already quite a big fish. We're the amount of kind of external events that I can go to, and someone will go, "Oh, you're from Manchester," and suddenly get lots of questions. People are very interested in Manchester and what we're doing and how we might go about certain things. So certainly continuing to raise that profile, that good profile and good reputation that we have. And as I say, obviously building up, so throughout our bicentenary year, all of that is hopefully going to lead into the launch of that big DDAR volunteering and fundraising campaign towards the end of next year. So yeah, lots going on. Now, obviously, collaboration lies at the heart of what we do across the organisation. So we're very much looking to what we've termed co-create 200. So kind of co-creating a lot of our events and activities throughout that bicentenary year with yourselves as staff, but also our students, alumni, external partners, and so on. And we have, well, spoiler alert, click the wrong slide. We have started to do a lot of that engagement already. So faculties have been running those engagement sessions. We've done some early sessions with staff and students, and also with the Students' Union. We are looking at and the cultural institutions as well. We've done some sessions with them. And we have talked about doing some further kind of all staff engagement sessions on this, just because we were aware that actually those initial sessions happened very early. And I think, to be fair, it was before we'd kind of gone out doing these kinds of things. So I think they were a little bit subliminal, shall we say, when they first happened. So we are looking to do some more of those if you haven't already been involved and you wish to be. So just in terms of what the year will look like, so this is kind of the exciting bit, if what I've already said doesn't sound exciting enough. So this is kind of what we're actually doing, and this is where you kind of start to see some of the actual events. So we're kind of splitting all this kind of bumper year into 3 levels or 3 tiers. So tier 1 is kind of these one-off flagship events that are only going to happen for bicentenary. Level 2 or tier 2 is, we call it rebranding, and I'm becoming less of a fan of that phrase, but what we mean by that is basically our usual big bread and butter activities. So things like graduation, things like welcome, and also some of the kind of the wider city partnership activity we do. So we just had it this weekend with like the Great Manchester Run and the Purple Wave, and getting involved in Manchester Pride. So that kind of big stuff that we do anyway. It's about looking at that and how do we give that what we've termed bicentennial sparkle for next year. How do we make those events extra special for our 200th birthday? And then tier 3 or level 3 is kind of activity that's going to be happening out in local faculty, schools, directorates. So basically over to you guys. How do you want to celebrate in your own way, in your local areas? So that tier 1 then, what does that look like? So I'm going to be starting the year, I say starting the year, not quite on the 1st of January, this will be mid-January, but doing a Light Up the City initiative. So looking to light up, well, on the very basic level, lighting buildings up purple, but we are kind of looking at what more we can do beyond that, perhaps in terms of some projections or other exciting things. And we're looking at not just some of our campus buildings, but also some Greater Manchester buildings as well. So we're talking to the council about what kind of wider Manchester buildings we might be able to bring into scope for that. With the plan being that we kind of do this kind of light switch on at 18:24 in the evening for obvious reasons. So that would be quite nice if we can make that happen. We're also, for those of you that were here, I've been here a while and maybe remember in lockdown, we did the lockdown lecture series, which were hugely popular. We're looking to kind of reinvigorate those as kind of a bicentennial series. So it'll be a mix of in-person lectures and also digital podcasts with different faces on different topics. And the plan at the moment is that they would kind of be peppered throughout the whole year. So we've got a bit of a running drumbeat with those throughout the whole year. There's a civic reception that's actually the council are putting this on for us. It's going to be hosted at the Manchester Art Gallery, and that's actually in partnership with MMU. Because they can also trace their history back to those early conversations at the Manchester Mechanics Institute. So to some degree, they kind of also share that birthday. So that's going to be a civic reception for both of us, as I say, that's being put on by the council. We're also going to be doing some sort of student competition. This hasn't been fully fleshed out yet in terms of what that will be or what that will look like, but running, again, some kind of one-off big competition for all of our students to get involved in. So excuse me. We're also going to be reimagining our walking tours. So again, we used to do these again pre-COVID. I understand there was an app and some kind of self-guided tours that people could do around open days, and I think some walking tours, that I think some of that was integrated perhaps with our open day programs as well. So again, just looking to kind of reimagine that a little bit, perhaps looking at a fresh app, but some kind of walking tours that people can go around and kind of learn about not just our buildings, of course, but I'll say that the people that have made things possible within those buildings and places. Next one, rather excitingly, and we're using a star because we're thinking Hollywood, although I probably do have to manage my own expectations on this one, to be fair. Although Diana's very excited about this, I think, which is nice. So we're going to be doing some kind of walk of fame. So I can't promise that that's going to be actual stars on pavement. Well, it certainly won't be on the pavements. The council have told us it cannot be on the pavements, but obviously on our own kind of hard ground. So whether that's across Brunswick Park or round Ali G or something like that, we haven't determined the exact location, but somewhere within our campus estate. It's clearly not going to be on Oxford Road pavement. But yes, kind of looking to get some kind of tiles or some way of commemorating people along some sort of walk of fame. And the idea being as well that, we're obviously laying this for the anniversary next year, but it would have some kind of ongoing impact. So we'd want to kind of leave a number of spaces for future years for people to still be nominated and for that to continue to grow. The big event, well, not that make it sound like these other things aren't big events when they are, but the big flagship event is a festival. which is going to be running from the 6th to the 8th, possibly even to the 9th of June, after some recent conversations. But yes, that's, kind of co-curating, working with external partners on that. Again, one of the partners that we're working with hasn't been involved with Glastonbury. Not that I'm saying we're doing Glasto, but we're working with people that kind of know what they're doing in that kind of space, that can hopefully help us curate a really exciting programme in the summer. We've also got a commemorative book, again around the 200th anniversary, that Manchester University Press are working on. And then finally, another biggie, which will be towards the end of the year in October, is we've THE asked us if we would at all be interested in hosting the THE World Academic Summit, which, if you don't know, is a really pivotal and huge event on the world stage in the academic space. So when they offered us that, we went, actually, that sits beautifully with our bicentenary, thank you very much. So yes, we have signed all of that now, and that's going to be the 7th to the 9th of October next year. So that's just level 1. Oh, and I don't know where my level 2 slide has gone. Oh, never mind. Well, I'll just talk to level 2 before I skip to level 3. So level 2, as I say, that there's probably this will be things like, as I say, graduation, foundation day, welcome, pride, Great Manchester Run, all that kind of big stuff that is on our usual calendar. Looking at how we give that the bicentennial sparkle, so how we make that extra special for people next year. Now, as it happens, I think there's some people on the call now that will be taking part in a workshop with some of us from the team tomorrow afternoon in terms of those level 2 activities, just to start to kind of gather requirements around what some of that might look like and what we might need to do in that space. So yeah, planning starting to get underway to identify those activities. Oh, and to level 3. So as I say, level 3 is kind of over to you and what you would like to do in your own areas. Now, some current thoughts around this, particularly from faculties, I think a lot of people are thinking how they can contribute to the festival, which is great. But what I would say is don't just limit yourself to what you can do for festival. This is, if there's anything that you want to showcase or do, or an event that you'd like to put on to celebrate, then you've got free reign to think about that in your own spaces. So yeah, go wild or not. So as I say, we've been doing a number of engagement sessions, and we are looking at doing some more of those from a central level, because I do appreciate that I think some of them slip some people by quite early on. But just in terms of what we've been getting out of those, a lot of it has been just around curating people's ideas, first of all, focused around the festival, but also more broadly in terms of, throughout that year, what are the kinds of events and activities that people would like to see? How would people like to be involved? What does kind of this celebration mean to them? And this is just kind of some of the words that have been coming up when we've done those sessions to date, which is great because it's all the stuff, all the stuff that we want to hear. It's about building community. It's about being on the international stage, feeling inspired, feeling proud, etc. So all of that is coming out of those workshops at the moment. And this is just some of the specific feedback that we've seen to date in terms of people's ideas, making things family friendly, even down to, let's make sure we've got spaces that cater for, everybody. So, considering sensory rooms and so on in some of our activities curation. I particularly like the one about the having the pub crawls and so on, and going around the student halls. We'll maybe take a rain check on some of that perhaps, but yeah, lots of great ideas coming through. In terms of kind of branding and look and feel and logo and what's our birthday badge, been doing some work on that. We do have that agreed at the very, very top level. And there's a number of strap lines that we're going to be using throughout the year that are all aligned to the different elements of our future. So obviously things like making a difference is kind of the big banner headline, if you will, because again, that social responsibility theme underpins everything that we do. But then we get into the specifics, so such as pioneering discovery is obviously linking to our research, sharing our knowledge about teaching and learning. So these are just, they'll never be seen or used together in a group like this, but just kind of different strap lines that may feature on different elements of things that when we come to kind of marketing and branding next year. And in terms of a badge, I did have some feedback as to what colour this was. It apparently looks a bit greige. It will be shiny gold in real life when this happens. So we're looking at, as I say, as an overarching identity, this kind of gold badge around the celebrating 200 and the making a difference since 1824. So this is just a kind of initial mock-up of what some banners may look like down Brunswick Park, but there'll be different variations on this, obviously in terms of different publications and merchandise and so on. I will just say as well that in terms of the festival itself in the summer, that will have its own unique identity, which hasn't been designed yet. We're still working through that, but this is kind of the overarching kind of banner, if you like, for the year. So just to kind of come back a bit full circle with where I started, obviously this bicentenary, this birthday year, is that real opportunity to showcase what we do and celebrate the achievements of everyone that's made that possible. And then the idea being that as the year tails off with all that excitement and celebration, that will then pave the way to launch that big volunteering and fundraising campaign, you know, for all that great stuff. So I will pause there, or stop there rather, and happy to take any questions. And I've just popped the team email address on there as well. If anybody's got something to ask and doesn't want to ask here and now, then feel free.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed, Kim. We've got a question already, which I'll come to in 1 second. It's also, Kim, I know, I don't know if you knew this, I spotted this the other day. The RNLI, the Royal National Lifeboat Institute, are also 200 next year. They're using the strapline "Saving Lives at Sea" since 1824, which I don't think we can lay claim to in landlocked Manchester. But anyway,
not quite. The National Gallery have also got their 200th next year.
There you go. There you go. Right, Joanne, start us off with the questions.
Yeah, hi. That all looks really exciting and packed year. I just wanted to ask, it was something that came up in the Africa group we have, and that I'm the secretary to, and it was something that Julia mentioned to it in some social responsibility, and that's about using the bicentenary also as an opportunity to reflect as an institution on maybe some of the things that haven't been so great. So I don't want to pour cold water, but we were talking particularly about the university's links with slavery.
Yeah.
So I just wondered if you wanted to mention that.
Yeah, no, that you're absolutely right, and that is on the radar. And you're right. I mean, we've already kind of know that it would be very remiss of us to kind of look like we're kind of hiding that under the carpet while we're talking about all the glossy stuff. So yes, it's definitely on there. We obviously need to consider and think about how we reflect that, but we absolutely will be reflecting that. I think there's some work going on around a small, this was kind of not linked to bicentenary, I should say, but I think there is some work going on around an exhibition around some of that as well, with one of the library sites. As I say, that was in train before I came in post and was doing this, but there may be an opportunity for us to join some of that up. So yes, you absolutely, that is on the radar.
Worth saying, Joanne, as well, you're not the first person to raise that, actually, which is a positive thing, I think. And you know, the point has been made. Whilst yes, one wants to, broadly speaking, be sort of celebratory and positive and look back, that shouldn't be a sort of a rose-tinted view of history exclusively. So yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Just while others think of questions, I had another one. It strikes me, I've heard this presentation 2 or 3 times, but it struck me this time in particular that it's quite Manchester, physically location-wise, Manchester focused, and obviously cognizant of the fact that particularly in this direction we always think of our 4 overseas outposts. So have we got thoughts about how we're going to sort of draw them in?
So and this is where we probably are getting to that point where I need to change this presentation slightly. So yes, we haven't got, I can't say exactly what that would look like, but certainly what we do around kind of the global centres in particular. So we are looking at whether it's with festival, or it probably would be festival, but festival or light up or something where we have some kind of joint activity in real time, notwithstanding the time zones and so on, but some way of kind of celebrating all together in real time and thinking about those activities. But yes, we're absolutely thinking about how we involve the centres. There just isn't any firm plan as yet. What I should say, and again, sorry, I know some people on this call are going to be hearing from me again in 48 hours time, but I am working with Tanya and Steve Flint, and we've set up an international working group. Now the first meeting of that is in the process of being diarised. I think it's is Tanya on the meeting, by the way? Is Tanya here? No. Just in case you wanted to say anything on this was all. But yeah, so we've got this international working group that's set up. So that's kind of looking across all what I've talked about, all the bicentenary activity, in light of our kind of global strategies and similarly what we do in the alumni space around that as well. So really kind of joining up the dots and looking across all of these strands of activities to pinpoint, what maybe want to tailor or tweak to an international flavour, but similarly looking on the flip side of it, not just at the bicentenary plan, but looking at our existing international plans and what opportunities may we have with people's existing trips or programme of activity. And so kind of looking at it from both sides really in terms of what we do from an international perspective. So as I say, Tanya and I are co-chairing that group, and Steve Flint is involved and has approved the terms of reference. So that should all be getting underway, I think, within the next month or so.
Brilliant, thank you. Other questions or thoughts, ideas for Kim on what you've heard? Definitely silence.
That's okay. As I say, there is a few people I recognise on the call here that I know are part of this workshop tomorrow for Tier 2 around. I think certainly Tracy and James, I know for sure are kind of in that tomorrow.
Let me ask you another one then, just while waiting. I'll come to Cooper.
Oh,
I'll just
Cooper, yeah.
go to Cooper, then I'll ask you another one.
Hi,
Hi, Cooper.
it all sounds really exciting. I can't wait. A lot of the activity sounds like it's going to be really campus based, and I just wonder if there's been any consideration given to some celebratory activities down in the sort of local neighbourhoods and the communities that our students tend to reside in, Fallowfield, Withington, etc.
Yeah, there has, again, I haven't got firm plans as yet, but it's certainly part of the thinking. So what we've talked around specifically with sounds like all I'm talking about is festival, but obviously there's other opportunities throughout the year. But we've talked about kind of looking at the different sites that we use. So for festival, as an example, I know what I've talked about there sounds all on campus, but working very closely with the Students' Union, and obviously, we might do some events out at halls or in the Students' Union. But we've also talked about kind of wider pop-up events, so maybe doing something at the train station, so kind of little kind of pop-up type things that we can do. But again, it's all quite early at the moment in terms of what those ideas are. But yeah, everything's on the table. If you've got any specific ideas, Cooper, then let me know. I
shall have a think and come back to you with some hopefully creative ideas. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. And actually, sorry, I should probably pick this up with you offline, but just thinking on my feet, kind of those meetings that we used to have with you probably still do have with the councillors and so on. If you want me to come and do something with that group at some point and take any thoughts that they might have, then I'm happy to do that. If it's relevant.
It's a really good idea. Thanks, Kim.
There's a related point, Kim, I think, which is around, to my thinking anyway, our juxtaposition against communities like Ardwick and so on. I mean, I'm sure there will have been to some extent Ardwick in some form or other in 1824, not quite in the way that it is now, but the communities around the campus have butted up against us for all that time. It'd be good to sort of include them, I would said, in some of this.
Yeah.
Just my other reflection, if I may, and again, all of this sounds Sounds brilliant, of course, but it will take a lot of staff time across the university to deliver all of this. So that's a consideration, clearly. I don't know if you've got an overall approach to kind of asking people to take part in these. So that's one question. The related is, one thing that, having heard this a few times, strikes me as doesn't come through terribly strongly, is any sort of sense of something that sort of gives back to staff, or sort of a thank you to staff, and that celebrating the role that we all have in making the university the success that it is. I don't know if that is something that's been thought about.
Yeah. I mean, I'll take the first point in terms of staffing. So at the tier 1 level, there's a number of work streams that are being led. Well, each of those things, so festival, Walk of Fame, etc. They've all got a work stream lead and people on those teams that have kind of agreed to kind of contribute to those programs. Now, it's not to say that they're delivering them end to end, but in terms of coming up with what we do and how we do it and so on. Certainly for the festival in particular, we are going to be looking for some kind of volunteer programme. And Pemberton Eccles, who's leading on festival, I know has been chatting with Lindsay and some others around kind of how best to go about that. So yeah, it is. We're considering it. I guess we haven't got the full answer just yet. But yeah, it is all on a relatively modest budget because, of course, you know, we're very conscious in the times that we're in. We equally, you know, while we're doing all this cool stuff, we don't want to look like we're just kind of burning money away on parties. So yeah, we do need to be very mindful of that in what we do. In terms of the giving back, again, I think it's, you know, I'm open to suggestions about how we might do that. If you've got any ideas, Simon, in terms of how we pitch. But I know volunteering isn't kind of giving back in maybe in that sense, but there's, I mean, it is and it isn't. But I don't think staff would see it as a thank you if we're saying, oh, come and volunteer for us. That's a thank you. But the reason I say yes and no, I think on some levels, some colleagues, you know, do really get excited about the opportunity to be involved in this and to help deliver this. And, you know, if a day of their day at work could be involved doing some of this as opposed to something else, then you know, they're very grateful to that. So yeah, any ideas around that, I'm very, very open to. You can either drop me a line or drop the Bicentenary inbox a note, and we will see what else we can do.
Brilliant, thank you. Any other questions or thoughts for Kim? I don't think so. Okay, so the opportunity for wider questions or anybody else who wants to sort of highlight something from their area to bring to other people's attention before we wrap up. Speak now. Hold your peace. Questions on anything? Any of the points? No. Okay, fine. Well, thank you again, Kim, for coming along. That's been incredibly useful. We will we'll make sure we sort of circulate the details again of the Bicentenary inbox. I think people might have some other thoughts and so on, having reflected on it. And of course, I know there's a number of people contributing some of the planning around that already. 2024 will be here before we know it. We are in June next week, my goodness me. In the meantime, thank you to everyone for joining us today, and I hope the rest of your Tuesday continues to go well. Get out, enjoy the sort of, this meeting just finished 20 minutes early. Go and step outside into the sunshine, do something positive for those 20 minutes, and we'll see you all again soon. Thanks very much. Bye bye.